Welcome to the Archotechs, a RimWorld fluid ideology series about pursuing the Archonexus. Episode 60, Bogged Down. To briefly recap last episode, we managed to manufacture all of the armor that we wanted to have before going to the next stage of the Archonexus. We also had a rather large travel raid that smashed themselves up against the Olmec head. And what I'm going to be doing is ignoring this orbital spacecraft hack. I don't want to do it. And instead, traveling the Archonexus. So let me go over the results of the poll first. Overwhelmingly, almost everybody decided that Zleb and Nolok come with us. So the 5 will be the trio plus Nolok and Zleb, just like last time. The biome that we're going to settle will be Cold Bog by a fair margin. The runner-up was Sea Ice, and then after that was Ice Sheet and Boreal Forest. So I do find it interesting that everybody wanted a cold map tile. So this is a Cold Bog up here. Now, how mountainous should the tile be? The winner was actually mountainous, but there's no such thing as a mountainous Cold Bog. The most mountains that Cold Bog ever really gets is small hills. But I've chosen to settle, let's say, in this tiny little Cold Bog in this area here. It should make it so that the movement difficulty is offset. I like this spot here because if we have ancient complexes to travel to, likely they're not going to render in the Cold Bog, allowing us to get there much faster. So we're going to be on a flat Cold Bog. I did ask what new style should be added to our ideology. Right now we're just techist, and 52% voted for morbid. And then lastly, or not lastly, but we had also polled what rituals to take and how many rituals. And funny enough, no changes will be made. You all voted for the 4 rituals that I already have, and for me to have all 4 rituals as well. As far as tongues being removed from slaves, anyone that flirts with Bunny will lose a tongue by overwhelming majority. And then I will also be required to get all 3 relics before winning. That was voted by 94.5% of you. So let's get this going. The last map is owned by Brio people, a tribe, the Fierce tribe here. So they're going to be a little annoying to ally, but really no different than the Pact of Wazalonium. And we'll have to study the final grand architect structure. So, what animals am I going to bring? I'm going to bring my 2 wolves. We just trained them. I invested some time into them. And then we're going to bring 3 horses. 2 females and a male. Where are my male? Oh, Ferris. There we go. Fairy, Ferris, and Shivaroo. I'm not bringing cows because they are not well suited for Cold Bogs. They'll freeze unless they're stored indoors. Now, in terms of items, here's what's interesting. Because we started with the Rich Explorer start, I do get a charge rifle for free. So one could make the argument that I should only take 4 charge rifles and then one of my colonists take the 5th one. But I'm actually going to take all 5 charge rifles and have a spare. That leaves me slots for 2 more. I think what I'm going to do is grab the advanced components because they can be hard to find. And then the last item will be the Healmech Serum, which slightly edges out the orbital beam targeter. The reason I'm going Healmech Serum is I do have 2 colonists that can call in multiple aerodrone salvos. So I feel like the Healmech Serum is something that I might want instead. And there's the decision. So, we'll head up to this micro Cold Bog. I'll settle right here. And one of the advantages here, like I said, is that the terrain movement difficulty in a Cold Bog is 4.4. You're dreadfully slow. With this tile here, we can easily go east or west and get away from the Cold Bog and travel faster. It is only about a 2-day travel to a Shattered Empire settlement, and then another one to the east at 5 days with horses that should be cut down tremendously. We'll add the morbid style, changing nothing else, and generate the new map tile. Now, as I travel to the new map tile, I want to analyze it for what areas of the map are going to be ideal to build in and farm in. Farms are going to have to be enclosed. They're not going to be outdoors because of how cold bogs are. And then the other thing to analyze on the new map tile is sort of how easy it's going to be to defend, you know, for combat capabilities. So here we are, and let's take a look before I start planning anything else. So terrain affordance is a very important one to look at because there's a lot of the map tile that doesn't support heavy structures like stone or manufacturing facilities. So anywhere that you see blue, red, or yellow, I can't really build on. I also don't want to build too close to the Archotech structure because of its emanations and the fact that it kills off plants. So I'm going to paint just a little reminder of where not to build, which is going to be something like this. I'm going to stay away from the Archotech structure where the plans are. So it looks, and then one last thing is you don't want to build so close to the edge of the map tile because if you have a raid enter from that edge, you will have very little time to deal with the raid before they are either breaching your walls or shooting people, etc. So looking all around, there is this section to the southeast, which is fairly buildable, and it has decent amounts of fertile soil. Now the way to farm in a cold bog, because the growing season here is only 20 days, is probably to put sun lamps down and then wall them up and heat them. So this area is okay. It's not too close to the emanations. The emanation and the plant killing is obviously a circle around it, so it wouldn't really hit this area so much. So we could settle here. In terms of defense, there is not a whole lot of shallow water to force raiders to march through, unlike this area up here. So to the north, we have more fertile soil, and the buildable land is sort of oblong, but I think I like it better. Now, the next thing to analyze is raw resources and other terrain features. So plenty of steel around the center, a little bit of silver and uranium, gold, components, an ancient danger. All right, that's about all I needed to see. So what I'm going to do is set up my initial stockpile. This is going to look a little strange, but I am going to do some planning here. So instead of a dining room like I had before, I'm going to have a central dining room. I'm going to change sort of the dining room design. So what that's going to look like is we'll have a kitchen and dining room area. Then I'm going to want bedrooms for the trio. And I think I'm going to have them share walls, because in the cold bog, it is really challenging to try to clear terrain. That's clearing terrain is rather brutal. It would be good if I incorporated the steam geyser into the design to capture its heat, because another thing about the cold bog, of course, is it's very, very cold. So here's a steam geyser room, and then I can start laying out the bedrooms that we're going to want. Trying to avoid building on too much of the fertile soil. Now, we're not going to use all this fertile soil for farming because we'll have to sun lamp each part of it. So something like a fertile soil sun lamp farm here, and maybe here, something like that, near the dining room. It also means that with only 3 farms, we're not going to require a whole lot of planting slaves. So if this is a 9x9 building, my initial stockpile will fill this area, and then we'll build a wall around it. And then I think I am going to nudge these bedrooms down 1 tile. So my aim here is to try to fulfill the needs of my trio as fast as I can. Just like the last map tile, the initial push is going to be for throne rooms and bedrooms, and I'm going to focus on bedrooms. Now, another thing I'm going to want to do right at the start is to try to improve the efficiency of the colony as much as I can. And by that, I mean making sure that we have high-quality recreation, so we recover our recreation quickly, and high-quality beds, so that we recover our rest quickly. I'm not going to call in the favors from Trustin for work groups just yet. I'm going to wait until I have some infrastructure so that the people that we're calling in for work don't go insane. So here's all the equipment that we have, and what I'm going to do is caravanning. I generally avoid caravanning because I know that you all probably don't like to watch me caravan stuff. But in this instance, I think it's necessary just to get a quick start. So we're going to first have everybody in this caravan grab weapons that they should use. And then once they have a weapons equipped, I'll load all of the food and staves into the caravan. So that is everything that we started with. And let's get up here to the colony location. Now, the only weakness of this colony location is indeed it's very close to the northern edge of the map. So I'm going to want to consider that when setting up my defenses. But it is a pretty good swath of land that is buildable. And I don't have to worry about being too close to the Grand Architect structure because we really only study that briefly. It's not something that comes into play very long. Now, in terms of natural resource tiles, looks to me like I'll be building in maybe slate and marble. So I'm going to set all these marble blocks here to be hauled somewhere around here by my wolves. So let's set marble and slate chunks to be hauled out here, because I have 2 animal haulers that are going to be able to help me out. So marble, slate, and move this slate as well. Now there is limestone, and I can use limestone for defensive structures, so that's fine. And here's the Archotech structure. It's a little bit more difficult than the major one to fully study. And once everyone's here, I'll cancel caravan forming or remove from caravan, undraft. And then what I want to do is to get the dining room area tree cut so that we can build here and live here. So I'm going to queue up a large swath to be tree cut by Bunny and Sven. Another thing I'm going to want to do with Zleb is set up a hitching spot so that Zleb can bring the horses over so they don't wander away. I am going to want steel to set up tool benches and to set up initial structures like that. But the thing is, the same miner that I have is the same plant cutter, so I don't really have the luxury of getting steel initially. So instead, what might be useful is to look around the map to see what sort of raw resources that I have available to me. Unfortunately, in this coal bog, there aren't a lot of ruins close by. There are these ruins down here, but they're very inconvenient to get to. for Trustin and No Luck. And also Trustin and No Luck can't haul. So even if I break down the ruins, they're not going to be able to bring the resources back unless I caravan for them. The other thing that I could have No Luck and Trustin do while we wait is to hunt. So I'm going to set them up to level 2 hunting while we gain the wood and the steel to build some initial structures. And I'm going to set a butchery zone in this location to drop animal corpses. I'm sure I'll be moving this later on. So this is going to be preferred for fresh animal corpses that are not insects. And then taking a look, I don't really like that there's a lynx lurking, so I'll kill the lynx. And then I'll set them to do some traditional hunting. The thing is, my food is exposed, so really any animals around my food are going to hunt for the food. And now that I say that out loud, let's also call down a food drop, a silver drop, and a glitter drop. So there's a polar bear over here and some deer. I'm going to initially hunt the deer, but I'll have to keep an eye on the polar bear. Other dangerous animals on this map tile: grizzly bear, polar bear, cougar, and timber wolf. Not too worried given the quality of my weapons. Should be very, very easy to clear them out. So as soon as I have enough for a stone cutter, I'll get a stone cutter up and running. Because I probably want to lay down the initial walls of the base here with stone, with the marble or wood or whatever we stone cut for. One of the beautiful things about my hunters, No Luck and Trusted, that are not haulers, is part of the task of hunting is to haul the creature. So as long as you have a hauling zone, they'll actually do the hauling anyway. So area 1 is going to be an area that I will not allow my wolves to be in, which is this spot here. It does give them access to eat the corpses for the butchery, but because there's a lot of animals to be hunted here, I'm not too worried about that. So there we go. Wolf haulers not allowed where the structures are. I'm going to have Trustin be a constructor at level 2, and then No Luck a constructor at level 3, so that No Luck crafts stone blocks instead once this is built. Now, the other things that I really are going to want is slab beds to get my rest recovery rate quickly. I'm just going to go with slab beds because they're simple. So that's, we want beds for everybody, and hopefully high quality beds. And then also some recreation so that we can recover our recreation quickly as well. So a horseshoe pin, a chest table. We have rough living, so getting you know, a table to eat on is not so important, but I do want the recreation so that we recover and we're spending more time working, in other words. So Trustin, after hunting this buck, should start constructing the beds. I think the beds are probably the most important initially. And I'm going to be gunning for quality. So Sven, even if it means breaking down wood, because there's plenty of trees in a coal bog. Trustin's having trouble getting masterworks, it seems. Oh my god, he's having a lot of trouble getting masterworks. Come on, Trustin. All right, I might settle for excellent for now and then push to masterwork later when I'm getting a little bit luckier, because I don't want to waste so much wood. And then this will be no luck's bed. I am going to require a little bit of steel for some initial structure, so I'll get Bunny up there to get that going. And then I'm going to put a torch here and a torch here so that we can mine and construct a little bit faster. Hopefully it won't start snowing to ruin the torch. It looks like this raccoon is going for my food. It is indeed. So we know in advance that we're going to want some doors in these locations. And then I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset these bedrooms back one so I can have a hallway. So this here is not exactly true. In fact, I might have another 9x9 room for crafting in this area with the geyser attached so it's self-heating, and then some sort of hallway that leads to the bedrooms. Let me look at terrain affordance. So the terrain affordance here is actually going to be a problem because this is all softer soils. In fact, even in this corner it is. So let's get the bedrooms in a different location that isn't going to be a problem. So we'll do a hallway here, which shares a wall with the geyser, and then to prevent the terrain affordance problems, we'll put the initial bedrooms in this location, a little bit further from the heart of the base, but we got to work with the terrain that we have available to us. It does mean that I would like a moisture pump at some point soon, because stone walls aren't going to be allowed in some of these spots here. You know, I might actually just nudge everything down a little to avoid the terrain affordance problem instead. I'll probably end up doing that, so that the northern wall is about there. I had mentioned terrain affordance, that it would be an issue, but then I didn't address it as capably as I probably should. So what that's going to look like is that this dining room here let me remove this. The dining room will be there instead. And we have plenty of stone to start cutting, but I will remove this stockpile edge of stone because it's going to be in the way of the wall eventually. No Luck is terrible at cutting down trees. So, yeah, that door was not necessary to build. And once No Luck is up, we'll start to get the marble cut first. And Trustin has no other tasks, so he'll start to do the marble cutting. That also means we need to move our cut plants down below. Oh, that's a silver wall. Let's not do that. So marble walls in these locations, understanding that this is, yeah, not symmetrical. And leave all of the plant cutting up to Sven. So Bunny is back up here to help mine, and I'm going to keep getting more steel because I'm sure we're going to need it. And then the next thing I really want to do is to put a roof over our heads so that things don't decay. And also so that our food doesn't get snatched. That's going to be important. All right, we are just about done plank cutted. I'll bring this stone cutter here and stick another door there. And then this stone cutter is going to be accompanied by some tool benches for crafting speed. And if Sven is hauling, it means that I can start to clear out more areas for future building. So I'm going to set that up now. If Trustin's idle, might not be a terrible idea to get a second cutter. And no luck, you're going to move your stone cutter table because it will benefit from the tool cabinet. So one thing that's happening right now is that Sven and Bunny are trying to regain their psi focus, which is a bit of a problem because I don't really have an efficient psi focus gain spot. They were praying at the art down here. So I'm going to say that them working or focusing on psi focus is not going to be a priority at all. So that they can go back and start trimming the trees. Because that is a bottleneck that we have that I want to solve. I should have caught them attempting for a psi focus gain sooner because they wasted a bit of time. So once this is all walled up, the stone cutting will be a lot faster. One thing that we're going to need, though, is a source of heat. Currently, I don't really have any electricity in the colony. I will be adding it soon. But for now, we'll just use good old campfire. That will keep it heated and keep it lit. And then let's also do a bill copying the marble blocks so that Trustin doesn't go idle again. I'm not going to be adding any additional mining jobs for Bunny, and I'm going to have her just finish up this compacted steel because we already have enough steel, I think, for now. And then another thing I need to do is to set up everybody to travel meals because I hadn't done that yet, and that means we're going to be otherwise starving. Don't want that. And Fairy gave birth. I don't have a pasture, so they're just gonna have to rough it. So before I start to make the bedrooms, I think a kitchen is gonna be nice. Because the kitchen will allow us to butcher animals, and then we'll bring in workers from the aid here to help with farming. So this is the next project instead of the bedrooms. So I'll do a cut plants in this location. And then the limestone here is going to be hauled somewhere else. I'm going to haul the limestone out this way. Now, you do see a lot of the colonists right now just sort of standing around. That's because I have no recreation for them. So the next step is to get a nice chess table, I think, so that we regain our recreation a lot faster. Now, another thing I'm going to need for the freezer is probably coolers. Although in this biome, I'm not going to need a lot of coolers because it is very, very cold and it stays pretty cold. That's why I have 3 doors to the kitchen, because it's going to be so easy to keep the kitchen frigid. The wolf zone needs to change a little bit because, of course, our dining rooms and layouts changed. It's there, updated. And we'll keep them out of this spot. Initially, it's just going to be wood floors everywhere. Eventually, I might change over to something nicer. But what we'll have to do, it is the abundant material. And now Bunny and Sven are over here cutting for the bedrooms. And I also want to cut for the crafting rooms and the geyser area as well. But not yet. Now, we don't have any normal components with us, so that's another thing Bunny is going to need a mine for. I actually didn't see too many components out here on the field, which is going to be a bit of a bottleneck. It's going to be a little challenging to get things built with very few components, so I have to be very careful with them, trying to get fabrication very early on, or traveling to other map tiles to exploit their resources because of how limited the resources are in this tile. So I might even go with no air conditioning for now, or perhaps in lieu of just vents, because vents should be enough to keep it cold in the winter months. Now, I don't have any power yet. I think we'll do a little bit of component mining for wood power, just like we did last time, so that I can run an electric rather than fueled. And then we'll also do the butchery table, and we can stick that down here once these trees are cleared. It does require Bunny to do a little bit of component mining, but I'm going to remove this other component mine for now, and then just micromanage her to finish this node entirely before traveling home. Now that this is enclosed, these rats need to be hunted. It's going to be pretty easy to do. Get them out of there. Bunny, I think, came home without the components. Oh, this is larger than I thought it would be. So she's going to want to sleep. I'll come back tomorrow. Winter has officially begun. So initially, a wooden table and just some wooden stools for the chest table, also that we can eat at a table. Now, with winter beginning, I do have to worry about my horses. It's possible that it will get too cold for them, and the wolves, I suppose, as well. So getting a barn hooked up to the steam geyser would be a good next move, I think. And there we go. A masterwork chest table is going to help with the recovery. And we're starting to work on bedrooms. I think splitting our attention between bedrooms and throne room was really challenging last time, and ultimately not that worth it. So I'm just doing bedrooms this time. And at this point, I would say calling the aid for the laborers is something that we could do. So these 4 laborers, let's see if I lucked out or got screwed. One of them cooks. None of them really farm all that effectively, but they're just going to be sticking plants in the ground. One of them constructs, which is okay. I don't want a smith or art. Crafting is fine, because I do want them stone cutting. So I don't know how useful they're going to be, but I will allow them to eat travel meals. What's funny about this is Slave 4 came back to us. An old slave that had visited us previously. So in terms of bedrooms, our bedroom requirements are relatively simple. We need an impressive of 80. The royal bed is going to be negated by the fact that we have sort of rough living. We have the pain, virtuous pain. We are going to want a dresser, end table drape, and no work facility. So the drape is going to be probably the hardest to satisfy, because that's going to require cloth. And with that, I ought to plan for my first farm here. I'll put a grow light in this spot. Meaning that the dumping stockpile for limestone, again, it's in the way. So having all these guys help with the additional tree cutting is kind of nice. It's a lot of tree cutters. The grow light is going to require more power than just the wood fire generator is going to be able to generate alone, so I'm going to need at least 3 of them, or batteries, or both. But the amount of wood that I'm going to require is not a problem, given all of my laborers now. So I can just queue up everything to be cut. Wow, there is a swarm of rats coming for the corpses. One way to avoid this is to set up your butchery like this. It will have slightly reduced butchery speed, but you can stick the butchery table indoors like this, leaving it where the door is, like that, and then moving these corpses inside, because the corpses themselves aren't going to cause food poisoning. That and food poisoning is not so much an issue for the trio, who all have nuclear stomachs. There's no such thing as food poisoning when you've got uranium sanitizing your food. How'd Bunny do down here? So all of this can be hauled. Awesome. So yeah, we'll get a butchery in here and keep the wild creatures from eating the corpses, which is going to be annoying in the long run. And then we'll send Bunny back up here to do some additional mining, because if I want a power grid, I'm going to need more steel. Now, the fine floors is going to be rough. That is a rough requirement. But I'm not going to move anyone in there until we actually have the fine floors set up. And for now, just to make it a little faster so that we can actually build in here, I'm going to stick torches inside. That also might heat the room to make it more comfortable as a bedroom, but that's kind of not the reason I'm doing it. All right, Evil Runner and Kadath should no longer be allowed in this section or this section, which eventually becomes crafting room and bedrooms. Still need material steel. That's a high priority. And then it looks like the wolves have a lack of things to haul. No, they don't. We'll still be hauling over here. They are allowed there. True? Yes. True. Now I'm going to be warned with low food. Not too worried about it. What I will do is do a butcher creature forever. Small radius, just including the creatures that are in here. And then as soon as we get a little bit more steel, getting that electric stove up. And then getting Cheddar to butcher for us and cook for us. Everything hinging upon gaining the required amount of steel. So this will be a grow zone. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to grow anything in here just yet because it's too cold. But what I will be doing is putting walls around this, and probably walls not made of marble, because marble is not, we don't need a pretty farm. And it looks to me like I have enough steel mined up that that I'm starting to build these stoves too. And for now, I'll just set up one wood fire generator and then hope to get a second one soon for the grow light. My horse's food needs are going to need to be met, so I'm going to move around the hitching spot so that they can be hitched to different locations and graze around where they're hitched. So one of the advantages of this is that the butchery is indoors, so it doesn't have a work penalty for being outdoors, and the sort of filth is contained to just the butchery zone itself. And then I'm going to want to start to set up a stockpile. So this will be kitchen, and I'm not going to min-max this just yet. So the kitchen will be a preferred for foods. And then this will be important for meat. I'm not going to allow insect meat or human meat into this stockpile. And then we are going to set up, just for now, simple meals. Don't want to have, let's say, 20. Ingredient radius tiny. And made of meat. And again, I could set it up so that it's not insect meat and human meat, but I don't suspect that that's going to be a problem just yet. So the grow light requires at least 3 wood-fired generators. They generate 1,000 watts each. This requires 3,000 watts. The best way to do it is to have batteries that charge up so that you don't need 3 necessarily. You can charge them up with 2. So that's what I'll be doing, is to try to research battery tech. We didn't have battery tech last map tile, but I think we're going to need it this map tile. And then the other thing is the the visitors that I have here probably should sleep inside. Ideally, I would have better beds for them, because better beds means that their rest recovery rate is a little bit faster. But for the first iteration, I might not even bother. Another thing I know I'm going to want is a hallway. At least this length. Put a door here. And then this whole area sort of roofed up. And we can put a door in the north. So we'll start to work on the flooring for that because we have plenty of wood at this point. And a research bench so that Sven could start working on battery tech. So let's get that going. I'm going to hit battery tech and then I'm probably going to jump to microelectronics. No luck is hitting limestone. So with the limestone that we have, I'm going to start to set up the farm zone here. And what we're going to want to do is to wall up around the farm and then add some additional areas where we can keep it heated. So I'll have a door for the farm there. And then I'll put the heaters in this corner there. Leaving this to be a bit of a hallway as well. Maybe this hallway ends up connecting to the other hallway. It's entirely possible. So if we want the visitors here, which are only here for 3 more days, some beds, what I will try to do is to queue up additional high quality beds so that we can take them when they leave. So these 2 masterworks are going to be for Bunny, and I can stick them in here. And No Luck, who didn't end up getting masterworks. And we'll get those moved. So this will be Bunnies, and then the guests can sleep in this bedroom here. Removing that. Perfect. And that, my friends, is all the time I have. Thank you for tuning in to episode 60 of the Archotechs Bogged Down. Thank you to all of you that voted in the poll, and I'm very happy with the result. Cold Bog should be pretty interesting. If you have any other feedback or questions for me, let me know in the comments below. If you'd like to chat with me or any members of my community, Rhadamant.com has a link to Discord. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons, Twitch subscribers, and viewers like you that support the channel. I'll catch you in the next episode. Farewell.